This conflict has crossed a threshold few believed possible. A location once considered unreachable, effectively untouchable, was suddenly struck. There were no front lines, no warning, and no clear escape routes. What follows makes one thing clear. The assumption of safety no longer holds. Russia's supply routes, its partners, and even areas once thought sealed off from the outside world are now exposed. This marks a turning point, one in which the geography itself has become a liability for Moscow.
Blown up. Short version is the Ukraine has said that their special forces have operated.
What Zeihan is really exposing is a profound and unsettling shift. Ukraine is no longer confined to predictable battlefields. The war has expanded into logistical arteries once considered untouchable, forcing Russia to defend locations that are extraordinarily difficult to support. Even a single successful disruption in these zones creates panic, drains resources, and stretches an already overburdened system. This is a mere sabotage. It's strategic suffocation. What you just heard wasn't speculation. It was a warning that this war is no longer limited to trenches, borders, or clearly defined battle zones. When logistics collapse and geography turns hostile, the next thing to fail is power itself. And now that collapse has reached the sea, straight into the heart of Russia's naval prestige. The Black Sea is no longer a body of water for Russia. It has become a graveyard. For years, the Kremlin treated it as an untouchable sanctuary, a private lake where warships could hide, regroup, and strike with impunity. Vladimir Putin believed the Black Sea Fleet was an iron fortress, immune to pressure, humiliation, and loss. That belief is now sinking beneath the waves. On December 15, 2025, a line was crossed. Ukraine struck a target that was never supposed to be touched. Inside the supposedly secure harbor of Novorossiysk, a Russian submarine, a $400 million missile carrier, was hit while anchored. Not at sea, not in combat, but while hiding, sheltered, and presumed safe. This wasn't just an attack. It was a message. For the first time in history, a submarine was disabled by an underwater drone. Decades of naval doctrine collapsed in a single moment. Submarines were designed to be invisible, silent predators beneath the surface. Instead, one of Russia's most valuable naval assets was located, penetrated, and crippled, proving that nowhere is safe anymore. Not above the water, not below it. The vessel was a Varshavyenka-class submarine, an upgraded Kilo-class platform, and a cornerstone of Russia's cruise missile campaign. These submarines launched strikes against Ukrainian cities and civilian infrastructure, making them both symbols of terror and priority targets. Ukraine did not hesitate. Using a domestically produced underwater unmanned vehicle, Ukrainian forces infiltrated one of Russia's most heavily defended naval facilities. Such bases are protected by sonar underwater nets and layered defenses designed specifically to stop this type of threat. None of it worked. The drone passed through every layer. The explosion crippled the submarine's propulsion system, destroying propellers, shafts, and steering mechanisms, rendering it effectively dead in the water. Repairs of this magnitude are neither quick nor simple. They require surfacing, which turns a submarine into a stationary, exposed target. This strike did not occur in isolation. It followed Russia's forced withdrawal from Crimea, where Sevastopol, once the crown jewel of Russian naval power, had become a death trap under relentless Ukrainian attacks. Ships fled, crews evacuated, entire squadrons were redeployed. Novorossiysk was meant to be the fallback, the final refuge, the last safe harbor. Ukraine proved it was an illusion. At the start of the full-scale invasion, Russia operated 4 Varshavyenka-class submarines in the Black Sea. One was destroyed in September 2023 during a missile strike on a shipyard, the first submarine ever lost to a cruise missile. With the Novorossiysk strike, half of this elite fleet has now lost combat capability. Only 2 remain operational, and the damage extends far beyond submarines. Since the war began, Russia's Black Sea Fleet has lost or suffered severe damage to at least 26 vessels, amphibious assault ships, missile corvettes, patrol boats, and support craft. One by one, they were neutralized by a country that technically does not possess a conventional navy. This is not coincidence. It is collapse. Russia's naval losses fall into 3 devastating categories. First, command and firepower. The sinking of its flagship cruiser early in the war shattered the myth of naval invincibility overnight. That ship wasn't just steel, it was symbolism. Its destruction sent shockwaves through Moscow's military leadership. Second, amphibious capability. Russia once planned a seaborne assault on Odessa. That ambition died with its landing ships. Repeated losses left only 2 large landing vessels operational, making large-scale coastal assaults impossible. Third, logistics and surveillance. Minesweepers, tugboats, patrol craft, the unglamorous but essential backbone of naval operations, were systematically eliminated. Without them, Russia lost the ability to monitor, supply, and sustain its fleet. The result was a mass retreat. Ships were pulled from Crimea and pushed east. Crews hid vessels between docks. Emergency measures followed, including sinking obstacles near key infrastructure in desperation. None of it worked. Ukraine's unmanned systems are indifferent to hiding places. The Sea of Azov is now the only theoretical refuge left, shallow, constrained, and dangerous for large vessels. For submarines, it's useless. For drones, it's ideal. Ukraine has effectively transformed the entire coastline into a hostile zone. Any Russian ship that moves becomes a target. Any port that shelters them becomes vulnerable. The Black Sea is no longer a battlefield. It is an access-denied environment. The consequences reach far beyond naval losses. Oil terminals were struck. Exports were halted. States of emergency were declared. Global oil prices jumped. A single operation disrupted a measurable portion of the world's energy supply. The fragility of Russia's maritime logistics was laid bare. The humiliation was public. International observers openly mocked the situation, describing the once feared Black Sea fleet as limping from port to port in search of repairs, stripped of credibility and prestige. What makes this even more devastating is the cost imbalance. Russia's submarines cost hundreds of millions of dollars and take years to replace, if replacement is even possible under sanctions. Ukraine's unmanned systems are cheaper, faster, and produce at scale. This is technological asymmetry in its purest form, and it is dismantling Russian naval doctrine piece by piece. The Black Sea was meant to be Moscow's stronghold. Instead, it has become proof of strategic failure. Russia has lost ships, bases, infrastructure, and control. It failed to dominate trade routes, failed to strangle Ukraine's economy, and failed to protect its own forces. What remains of the fleet is pinned to the coastline, afraid to move, afraid to fight. This is not a tactical withdrawal. It is a retreat under pressure. And if this trajectory continues, the question is no longer whether Russia can dominate the Black Sea, but whether its fleet will ever operate freely there again.